Hi, my name is Patty Bellato, Associate and Manager of Marketing and Business Development for Van Zelm Engineers and President of PWC Connecticut chapter. I'd like to welcome you all tonight to our PWC Connecticut second program of the season. We are delighted to have you join us. Our PWC Connecticut Awards program kicked off last week. We believe that hard work and dedication to our chapter and the industry should be acknowledged and promoted. We are proud to offer 4 awards, which are Women of Achievement, Rising Star, Excellence in Mentoring, and Volunteer of the Year awards. Please visit our website for more information and to nominate someone. Nominations are due December 1, and our awards program will be on January 25th, hopefully in person, although there are no promises as of today. PWC Connecticut's mentorship program is in full swing, matching up our student mentees with mentors, as well as finalizing the schedule of events for them. If you are a PWC member and wish to mentor, please contact Jen Marks at BL Companies. Her telephone number is on our website. Last but certainly not least, our scholarship program will be open beginning January 1. Here is where we give $3,000 scholarships typically to students that are in the, go all the way up to, they're in the upper and the lower, where they can go for their master's or their PhD. My sincerest thanks to our board, volunteers, members, guests, and sponsors who all helped to make us a success. I would like to turn this over to Bob Lavigne of Wilson Construction, who will take a moment to recognize our sponsors.
Thanks, Patty. Good evening, everyone. I'm very excited to recognize our sponsors this evening, and we have an exciting program. My name is Bob Lavigne with Wilson Construction Company in Hamden, Connecticut. As the chair of the sponsorship committee, we are very thankful for everyone and their levels of sponsorship to be able to make what we do possible. So again, thank you. And I'd like to start with our executive sponsors. Of course, in alphabetical order, we'll go with BVH, a Salas O'Brien Company, CES, Harry Grodsky since 1918, La Rosa Groups, Markham Advisory Consulting, Turner, Van Zelm Engineers, and Whiting Turner, rounding out our executive sponsorship level. At our annual level, we'd like to thank for making this program possible, BL Companies, Cohn Resnick, de Blasi Associates, Dietz and Company Architects, Flowtech, Gilbane Building Company, Hinckley Allen, J. Furyk Photography, O&G Industries, Robinson and Cole, STV, and Wilkinson and Wolf, W&W Associates. Rounding out our foundation sponsors, we'd also like to thank the following people, again, for making tonight possible. Construction Advocacy Professionals, EDI Landscape, EDM, Garcia and Milas, PC, K Enterprise, McElroy, Deutsch, Mulvaney and Carpenter, Robert Benson Photography, Shipman and Goodwin, and Wilson Construction Company. And finally, this evening, we have an exclusive sponsorship, and that is BVH, a Salas O'Brien Company, and thank you them for helping to sponsor tonight's program. Now I'd like to turn it over to Susan. Thank you.
Good evening again, everybody, and thank you all for joining us this evening. It's a dark and stormy night just about everywhere in Connecticut and southern New England. So before we introduce our speakers, I would like to acknowledge and thank our technical gurus, Kathy DeFrancis Vittorio of Fuss & O'Neill and Amy Ray of EDM Architects. Both of them work very diligently behind the scenes to keep PWC's delivery seamless and all of you connected. We could not have kept PWC's programs alive this past COVID period without them. And I apologize in advance. I know that there are power outages here and there around the state, and there have been some blips in connectivity during the day today. So if occasionally there are freezes or glitches, my apologies to all of you. We are taping this event, and it will be available should you wish to see it again afterward. I would also like to thank the members of the PWC Program Committee. All of you work very hard on preparations for this and all of our PWC events. Those folks are Loran Askloff of Shipman and Goodwin LLP, Patty Bellato, Van Zelm Engineers, Kathy DeFrancis Vittorio of Fussin O'Neill, Amy Ray, EDM, and Tanya Catolo of Slam Construction Services. To maximize the time allotted us, we will focus, as always, on the program content rather than on extended introductions. I'm very pleased to introduce our panel this evening. In alphabetical order, they are Paul Felici, Academic Associate at Asnuntuck Community College Manufacturing Technology Center, Brian Stach, General Manager at RAF and MW Industries, Inc. division, Chris Ulbrich, Chief Operating Officer of Ulbrich Stainless Steels and Special Metals, Inc. Anthony Medici, Senior Director of Manufacturing for Medtronic. Paul S. Lavoie, General Manager at Carey Manufacturing. And our moderator, Rick Mullins, who is Vice President of Business Development at SignPro. I am now going to turn the program over to Rick's very capable hands.
Much, Susan, and thank you very much to the Connecticut chapter of Professional Women in Construction for putting on this session and for asking me to moderate this session. We have some very talented people on our panel this evening, and I would like to lay the groundwork initially for our discussion this evening. Each one of our members of the panel have seen the questions that I'll be asking, and they have responded to me with their willingness to respond to some of those questions. Let's lay the foundation for starters. This is PWC's second program on the manufacturing sector, and they're proud to be hosting this month, as first Friday in October is officially designated as Manufacturing Day. As you might imagine, the pandemic has had a profound impact on the manufacturing sector. Probably many of you know, I'm going off script here, that people in manufacturing were working during much of the pandemic, and the office folks were working remote. Between February 2020 and April 2021, America's labor force shrank by about 3.5 million people. Although labor force participation is recovering, it still remains below pandemic levels. I'm sure that we all are experiencing difficulty in finding talent. It's expected that many people will return to work during this fourth quarter, but manufacturers know that those returning to the workforce need to have the right skills, knowledge, and abilities. I just talked to some of my colleagues, and we in the nonprofit sector today, and we talked about how it's really changed the environment and how we conduct business and do business, and I'm sure you can all share on that. Some quick facts about manufacturing in Connecticut. In 2019, Connecticut named Colin Cooper as the first chief manufacturing officer in Connecticut. From an economic standpoint, every dollar spent on manufacturing adds a $1.35 multiplier to the total economic activity in the state. Manufacturing accounts for 11.23%, of Connecticut's gross state product and 9.49% of employment. Connecticut manufacturers export about $17 billion plus each year, representing over 90% of the state's exports. The manufacturing multiplier effect is high. For every job that's created in manufacturing, 5 to 8 jobs are created indirectly and through suppliers. And I think we all would agree that workforce is our future, and this next generation of leadership that we're working with in Asnuntuck Community College, our state universities, the private schools as well, that's our future workforce. And we need to harness that and prepare those people to take over as some of us baby boomers edge out to retirement. Those of you in manufacturing have seen quite a transformation, and I know I have in my 34 plus years of career. From Mill Standard 9858 to 45208 to ISO 9000 to Industry 4.0. And we have an expert on our panel that will address that from a state level. So I'd like to get right into the questions, and I will call on the respondents that agreed to respond to each question, and we'll move through the group that way. We won't be doing introductions. They can introduce themselves when I call on them. We can all agree that 2020 was a challenging year, for almost everyone, including manufacturing, of course. Companies had to pivot on a dime to accommodate the COVID-19 workplace protocols and procedures. The simple act of getting into the manufacturing floor took more time with temperature checks and other procedures. And with fewer people on the job at one time because of social distancing, productivity numbers decreased quickly. These issues did not even address supply chain disruptions, changes in demand, and employees' discomfort and insecurities about their own jobs. We heard from Chris, in fact, about that as we were getting started here this evening. Automation has already been prevalent in manufacturing, but with COVID, automation was ramped up. And what I'd like to ask the two respondents on this topic, did you see automation trends from COVID reshaping the industry you're in? How? If so, how? The types of automation, which may include robotics, 3D printing, or other technologies. I know at our community colleges and state universities, we're doing quite a bit with 3D printing. How will that automation affect your productivity and your product in the future? The work model has changed for manufacturing and for those in support positions in the office. How are you contemplating large-scale changes for the way we need to support these people? Chris from Ulbrich.
Thank you, Rick. Hi, I'm Chris Selbrook, Chairman and CEO of Ulbrich Stainless Steels and Special Metals. We're a worldwide company, distributor, re-roller of stainless steel, nickel alloys, titanium, 700 employees, private, going to our 4th generation. And I hope we're going to be 100 years old in 2024. I hope, we're getting there. So that's a joke. Sorry about that. All right. Hey, COVID, it really multiplied this automation issue, I think. Obrecht, we brought back everybody for 2 days on October 1st. And at the end of January, we're bringing everybody back 4 days. We're going to allow people to work at home. And as Rick was saying before, we started, computers, we had to get 125 people, computers, printers, everything. And our people stepped up like probably most of your companies did. We are essential workers. We make parts for Medtronic and other people as essential workers. So, automation was before all this. Now, what's going to happen with automation and why? I think, automation is going to really flourish. Short-term and long-term inflation is here. Every day, I just locked in our gas 31% higher. Lack of employees, people retiring, people deciding not to work because of COVID, because of illness or change of lifestyle, lack of skills that people don't have. We need engineers. We need people like yourselves out there. And unfortunately, there's people who don't have the skills. And I think a big thing with automation, companies are sitting back, increase in healthcare, 10% a year, healthcare goes up. They are working on more drugs and research today that have ever been invented. Healthcare today, the cost might be a gift versus what it's going to be in the future. So how do you get around all this? Automation. And automation is going to come. Robots don't get sick. Robots don't need healthcare. And I think it's coming. UTC, there was an article saying that UTC Raytheon is going to have 20,000 robots in all their factories. They're not doing this for fun. They're doing it to eliminate jobs, be more efficient. And ourselves, a mid-sized company, large company, we have some robots that move metal. We have robots, AI programs that help our reworks. We have AI that reads the sensors and the machines that was not available years ago. But now all these sensors can be read by computer programs and say, hey, the best speed, the best oil temperature is 180 degrees. And these sensors will tell you that when it goes to 190 degrees or whatever the min-max you put in. We even put a new phone system in that is 5 times what it was 15 years ago. So there's all kinds of things coming in automation, I believe. And, we don't have employees right now. Is it possible in a couple of years that there's going to be an unemployment problem because of, automation of trucks, automation of restaurants, automation of manufacturing floors? It may be coming to that. So but automation is alive and well, in my opinion.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you for that insight. Paul, you have an interesting perspective at Asnuntuck. You're working with that emergent talent. You're engaged in the Industry 4.0 initiative with the governor's office. Can you tell us a little bit about your perspective on this topic?
Rick, I think you have
I
the
think
wrong.
it's the wrong Paul, actually.
That's all right.
Oh, is it Lavoie? I'm sorry. Carey.
That's all right. That's all right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Paul Lavoie. I'm the general manager of Carey Manufacturing. We are a manufacturer of catches, latches, and handles in Cromwell, Connecticut. So latch on to us, we can handle it. So what I'd like to talk to you a little bit about is what's going on at the state level with Industry 4.0 and automation. In the last legislative cycle, the Commerce Committee submitted a bill that made it through that created a I-4.0 working group. The whole purpose of the working group is to put together a roadmap and a playbook for small and medium-sized manufacturers to accelerate the implementation of Industry 4.0. Industry 4.0 and the fourth industrial revolution is really all about automation. It's all about robotics. It's all about machine-to-machine communication. It's all about the Internet of Things. So when you come down to a scarcity of labor, you need to replace that labor with automation. So this task force really got together in August, and is really starting to look at how we connect service providers in the Industry 4.0 arena with manufacturers. And the whole idea is there's three things. We need to engage manufacturers in Industry 4.0. We need to educate them on what's happening and what kind of technology is available for them to be able to use in their shop floor. And then we need to enable them to be able to implement that technology. So as you can imagine, in small to mid-sized manufacturers, there are limited resources. For example, at Carey Manufacturing, we have machines in all four industrial revolutions. So we still have hand benders, and then we have automated machines that are punching out parts for us on a regular basis. So with kind of having our hands in all four industrial revolutions, we're really looking at how we're dragging up to the back end to be able to really, again, introduce automation to be able to help us with productivity. And that's the key issue for manufacturers, I believe, in Connecticut, is how do we maximize our productivity? So we're really just getting started, and we've got some great folks at CCAT and other organizations that are helping lead this initiative. So we'll see a nice roadmap that'll come out for manufacturers for implementing 4.0. Briefly, Carey Manufacturing, when the pandemic started, the front office went to being remote and mobile. We can't make metal parts in your living room with our machines, so we had to keep the shop floor open, and we did that. But we offered people flexibility. As I say, the biggest change that happened when the pandemic happened was me. I needed to become more flexible as a leader and needed to make sure that I was being adaptable and letting people work the way that they needed to work. So that just give you an idea of kind of what's happened since the pandemic, and more importantly, what's happening at the state level.
Thank you for that interesting perspective on the smart factory, as we've heard it often referred to, Industry 4.0. Moving on to our next question, and all members of the panel will have the opportunity to respond to this, starting with you, Paul Felici. But there's an illusion that all of manufacturing occurs outside the United States. To its benefit, Connecticut has access to one of the largest manufacturing resources in the U.S., from supplier to assembler within 1 day's commute. However, Connecticut companies are facing hurdles such as technology costs, skilled worker shortages, and inventory management. With the AEC industry, disruption in the supply chain has been a major source of frustration in building and renovation projects. What steps are you taking to contend with this post-COVID shift back into growth and expansion? What does access to a strong, qualified supply chain base mean to your company and its competitiveness? Have you considered adopting a +1 sourcing strategy, adding a more local source to supplement materials previously sourced overseas? How have customer-supplier relationships changed in the way you do business? Let's start with Paul.
Okay, my name is Paul Felici. I'm from Asnuntuck Community College. I'm what's called an academic associate. So I've done a lot of anything. I started the day the program started, so I've been here since day one with Frank Galuni starting it and watched it grow and everything. And what basically what this pandemic has done to us, it's not a traditional supply chain the way that you guys may think about it, but our supply chain is our students and getting them out to you. And one of the challenges that we have gotten is we had to pivot within a week to go online with everything that we could. Obviously, shops and everything can't go online unless you use Tooling U or something like that. And if they can't get their hands on it, it really didn't work. And we were somewhat successful on that, and that we were able to do it, put a lot of our classes online and make it work. But I've got to tell you, with the type of student that we get, and the type of people that go into manufacturing and usually flourish there, they like to get their hands on everything. So it was really a challenge to keep them engaged. They need to be on a campus. So we did that. We're slowly now getting back to the fact that we did return in August. 100% of us are back on campus in some way. I've been back since almost last July, but it's something that it's becoming more normal. We were able this semester to go ahead and get what we'll call a COVID sellout, fill all our classes, and do things that way. So it's really just been about getting the program back into the school, refining our online presence, which has grown, and just doing that type of thing to reattract the student, reinvigorate it. And I think that it all starts at the end. I've heard it taught or touched on here that you need employees, and I'm getting those calls every day as the person in charge of electronics and electromechanical here. I get calls almost daily looking for people. So our charge is to get more and more people in, and we're starting to do that. We're not back to pre-COVID levels, but hopefully we're going to get there and be able to solve that unemployment problem for you, at least in a small drop in it, and in this way.
My mute was on, sorry. Thank you. Asnuntuck has done a great job, and I know Frank Galuni very, very well. And the collaboration between Constep and CCAT and the folks at UConns and CCSU has all been remarkable in support of manufacturing. And I think this 2022, you're going to be celebrating your 50th year up there at Asnuntuck, right?
We've been here since '98, actually. So
Okay.
we'll be. It'll be our 25th year. Mr. Galuni did retire, unfortunately, but his presence, obviously, and his guidance were great through all these years, and we've really built it up nicely, and a lot of credit goes to him.
Terrific. Brian, can you give us your perspective?
My name's Brian Stach. I'm the general manager at REF Electronic Hardware. Also, TriStar Inserts is part of our company here in Seymour now. But through all this, the COVID challenge, REF has not missed a beat. We have stayed completely employed through all this. Although business in the beginning of COVID, we were ramped up, extremely busy on our insert side because we were supplying a lot of product, a lot of electronic hardware and inserts to the medical industry. So our business actually took off. And that's been a big challenge through all this for us, as we know with the employment base and employees out there and qualified skilled workers, we are in a 40% growth as we come out of this. And this has been a huge challenge from an employee side because you're trying to find qualified Davenport guys or CNC guys, and that's just a huge part of it. So what we've been doing is really looking to our supply base to help. So we've added additional suppliers in Connecticut and throughout the US because we cannot count on anything overseas to really deliver on time to help us supply our customers through all this. That's been a huge part of this. At the same time, we are working with the colleges and the technical schools, and currently we have 22 people in internships or training on our machines, and really that's kind of getting the future for the next couple of years as we go forward. So really investing in people, investing in local companies, which is really trying to get us through all this, because the challenge for us has been growth, where we're a solid U.S. supplier. We have a very good reputation in our business, and we've been able to get through this. The challenges now are really that specialty steel, as was talked about prior to the meeting, the things that are coming from Europe and stuff like that. So it's how do you give the customer the right lead times? So that is really a big challenge, and I think that will continue to be a challenge at least through the middle of next year, if not farther. So it's the challenges in the business growth for us right now.
Thank you, Brian. Chris, tell us about it.
Well, let's see. Same with us. Ulbrich, we're worldwide across the world, and our people really stepped up. Our on-time delivery is strong. We're in the 80s to the day. Most of our suppliers keep score by the week, which is pretty kind of funny. Our quality is good. We're making metal for airplanes, nuclear reactors, medical instruments. So there's no cutting corners. We've got to do things right. And but with that, the supply chain's a mess. Every day we're dealing with tariffs, duties, quotas, allocations from every mill. Matter of fact, January of 20, one of our mills, we bought 500,000 pounds of stainless rod. Today we place 59,000 pounds. That's our quota, 10% of what we were used to buy. Containers used to cost $4,000. Now they're $18,000. And if your container goes to the dock too early, there's holding costs. We just got a $15,000 bill because a container was sitting at the dock for 3 months. We've had 6 price increases in stainless steel. We're buying our material late 22 and early 23 right now, talking about the future. But the trick is, I believe, matching our PO, the customer's PO, to our vendor PO. And then that gives our customer knowledge of what their cost is, or roughly what their cost is. There could still be a little surcharge, but 90% of it. And then it gives Obrecht a chance to plan our processes, our costs, what we need, our resources. So especially 40, 50, 60 weeks out. So it gets our customers the metal for essential parts, government, defense, medical. It's so important. And this challenge is continuing with, oil going up, nickel. This amazing statistic. Everybody thinks electric cars are fantastic. Well, great. If it goes to 30% electric cars, nickel's got to be mined 100% more in this world, because that's the ingredient right now. That's not going to happen. Nickel is not available to that degree. And mining has some issues, pollution issues. So there's got to be other inventions, and then in the midst of this, we're reshoring in the United States. We're figuring out the future taxes and our future costs and things like that. So it's a challenging time, to say the least. And one of these days, the prices are going to go so high, things are going to level off, and hopefully the landing, the cooling off period will be a soft landing versus a massive drop, because there is pent-up demand. People need cars. People need the houses that you folks have designed. So hopefully, and we need pent-up operations that Medtronic supplies and things like that for parts. So there's still needs out there, but we just got to get through some of these issues in the supply chain. So
Thank you, Chris. Anthony Medici from Medtronic. I know I've had a few of those instruments in me for multiple surgeries. So tell us about your supply chain.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. I'm Anthony Medici, the Senior Director of Manufacturing for Medtronic in North Haven, Connecticut. We have around 1,800 employees in the plant, but overall on our campus, we have close to 3,000. We are the largest Medtronic plant in Connecticut. There is another one that's a bit smaller in Mystic, Connecticut. So for those of you who aren't familiar with it, it's formerly US Surgical, formerly Covidien, formerly Tyco Healthcare. now Medtronic, and we'd like to keep it that way. So thank you for having me tonight. So just to give you some perspective, when early on during the pandemic, Medtronic had made the commitment to our labor force to put folks out on leave, right? So what was happening to our industry is most of our products are elective surgeries that we produce in North Haven. So saw a big dip in demand due to overcrowding of hospitals. So to that point, obviously we saw our production demand dip. We were able to retain our labor while putting them out on leave. So when the time came to bring them back, we were able to do so. We did manufacture obviously all the way through, as we were essential to our patients. But when the time came to ramp back production, we were able to bring back our folks and make our ramp up a little bit easier than some of the other employers and some of the other horror stories I've heard. In terms of our suppliers, so not only are we a big site in Connecticut, a big manufacturer, we actually have a huge supply base in Connecticut. In 2020, we spent around $405 million on Connecticut suppliers. That's between both sites in Mystic and North Haven. And we have, 33 suppliers in the state where we spend over $2 million a year, and 66 where we spend over $1 million. So we do partner with our suppliers, and I can tell you that right now in the way our supply base is right now, that's more important than ever. Many of our suppliers, we receive daily shipments, and many of them just in time, right? As production lines are starting to shut down due to lack of material. Obviously, this isn't ideal, but this shows our ability to partner with them, and then flexibility because a lot of them are very close. In terms of +1 suppliers, we do attempt to be dual sourced on many of our components, just for business continuity perspective and obviously price pressure. This can be challenging for us, obviously, because of our industry and our validation requirements. It's not very easy to go from one component supplied by one customer to another, even if they're exactly the same. It takes quite a bit of time for us. But it's interestingly enough, in times like these, we talk about business continuity. What if you have a hurricane? What if you have a massive fire? What if you have, but all along, no one was really considering, hey, what if you had a pandemic, right? And you had supply chain shortages. So now our risk really is in our ability to shift gears to qualify or validate new suppliers or new materials. So definitely an eye opener for us, North Haven, and all of Medtronic.
Thank you. That COVID was a paradigm shift for many of us, not realizing the breadth and depth of the impact it was going to have on our businesses across the state and the nation. Paul Lavoie over at Carey, can you tell us a little bit about your supply chain?
Sure. So for us, it's really been kind of the best of times and the worst of times. So back in 2016, our Carey hardware line was being manufactured in China, and we started the reshoring process, bringing all the manufacturing back from China here to the U.S. So now, fun fact, American-made products don't get stuck on cargo ships. So with most of our competitors manufacturing in China on the hardware side, we're starting to see quotes and orders for products that we haven't seen in a very long time. And we're getting orders for them, and we're making them here in the United States. So from a sales growth perspective, things have been very good for us. And that's really kind of the best of times, if you will. On the worst of times, we're in our hardware line, we're on a PIE pricing model. And that is when a customer calls in, I need to get raw material quotes, and then I need to quote our parts in order to make sure that we're even just surviving. So, and then there's certainly the availability of material as well. We had one particular metal that was very difficult to get. So we had customers that were placing orders in March that were just now shipping in November. So, we run into those, some of those supply chain issues as well. But really for us, it really has kind of some of the things that are happening globally are really impacting us positively from a business growth perspective. And the other things are just, if it's not one thing, it's another thing, if you will. as it relates to the supply chain and what we're dealing with. And I think it's one of the things we learned through the pandemic is that we need to be adaptable, flexible, and we need to be much better at really being creative out on the shop floor and making sure that we're adapting our business to meet our customers' needs.
One thing that you raised there is robustness of our systems, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, it's preparedness. I say this every day. What's my day look like? I don't know. I'll find out what my day is going to look like when I show up to work.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of the environment that we're in right now.
Well, thank you. We're going to move on to question number 3. We have 4 after this. Skilled labor shortage. We've already talked a little bit about this, but that is a critical part of the supply chain and manufacturing, access to skilled labor. The state of Connecticut, the community college and vocational technical schools are all working closely with firms and industry associations to increase the number of students pursuing training for careers in the manufacturing sector. What are your strategies at your company for combating this ever-present labor shortage? Let's start with Paul Felici.
Okay, well, obviously at Asnuntuck, this is really our business, our bread and butter, and why we started 24 years ago. The same issue that we're having today, that there was a lack of, skilled and qualified people, not just a lack of people, but also, the quality and skills that you need to have, your businesses run correctly. That's a key. I mean, you can get just people off the street, but then there's training, that kind of stuff, all the benefits you need and time that you have to incur to train those people. We are training them to the point where they come off and they're a quicker turnaround for you and that kind of thing. So what we have been doing to bring our levels back, I mentioned taking the classes offline, coming back to the college environment, which I do all the recruiting basically here, and almost to a person. That's what I heard. I want to get back on campus. If I'm going to come back, it needs to be back on campus. So we're obviously doing that. As I said before, we're going back to hosting small groups here of up to 15 people at the college, because seeing is believing. I firmly believe I can talk on the phone and do all that, but getting people to her and see our facility and how nice it really is, really hooks them in, if you will. So we're doing that. Tomorrow night is a little add-on. We are hosting an open house from 5 to 7. So hopefully we'll see some people there. And we're also beginning to slowly but surely through virtual and now actually through visits, I'm getting out to more and more high schools, and events. I'm doing on Thursday a virtual and actually going to the school, getting out to some different career fairs that are slowly starting to happen. So that will open up, the opportunity to get people working closely with, some of the WIOA people and the boards, where you can, get some dislocated workers and things, people that are looking to get retrained. We're continuing to amp up our outreach to them and do things like that. We're marketing the fact that there are so many jobs out there. I tell people, as an example, and I guess I'm going to tell it here really quickly. I have a son and a daughter. My daughter is a nurse. She's $150,000 worth in debt. She's a nurse, so don't feel too sorry for her. My son didn't know what he was going to do. So I finally got him to enter our electromechanical program. My son is not a Spitfire, but he got a job at a place called Niagara Water. He's been there 2.5 years. He got over $10 worth of raises in 1 week, is now towards the top of his department and making more money than I'm making in 23 years. I'm not going to mention the figure to protect myself here. But he's doing that, no debt. He doesn't have to worry about that. He doesn't come out with these, extremely crippling college loans, and Uncle Sam doesn't care anymore. They're calling you, they're garnishing your pay, they're doing things like that. So these particular careers make so much sense, and we're trying to get that word out there to all the different high schools and things that we're working with, trying to get them, out there, and kids more and more to look at community college and manufacturing as a way to go up to become an engineer, to become where your companies are not looking for people just at the lower levels. You want them to move up. Many of you will pay for their college training. if they're willing to do it. So we're marketing all that as we have done. We're always looking for women and, minorities, things like that. We're even currently and have been looking into the incarcerated that will be coming out soon and need an opportunity in life. And that is another, avenue which some of us will have to go to give these people the opportunity to come out and lead a life that's giving to society instead of just taking it away. And we have had programs here in the past at Asnuntuck where we had the incarcerated actually here at the college, which I don't think has been done anywhere else in the country. And we had students from there now making $100,000 a year at companies and things like that and turning their life around. So that's something that we continue to do. And, we're just going to keep on doing this kind of stuff so we can grow and get more people out into your industry. Just continue to market at the state level, local level, and all the different types of initiatives that the state's coming out with. We're into the, into apprenticeship and the like. So we continue to market and recruit very heavily, and hopefully you'll start seeing some of that from the different community colleges, and more help will be on the way soon.
Thank you, Paul. Brian.
Kind of along the lines with what Paul's saying, we are taking advantage of some of that through Housatonic and Naugatuck Valley's manufacturing program. So we are very active with them and have partnerships with them for internships and apprenticeships going forward. We also, at the high school level, here we're in Seymour, so we use Emmett, O'Brien, and Kaner Tech in Waterbury and bring the kids in for there. Like I said, we have quite a few apprentices going on in the facility at this time, and we'll continue. And we've actually are very pleased with the manufacturing program at the state level with the Housatonics and the Naugatuck Valleys with the kids we are getting, because they can hit the ground running. And that's been a very positive thing. At the same time, continuing to work with local high schools and actually working with Region 16, and we're starting their first job shadowing manufacturing program to bring kids in to really get an understanding if this is the path they want to take, and give them the option to either come to work and let us pay for college or a manufacturing program, or just kind of see what's going on, whether it's a manufacturing engineer or just a Davenport guy or a CNC guy, just to kind of get the feel for that. We all, at the same time, through all this, knowing that there's such a shortage of skilled labor from a Davenport side, we've started our own, what we call Davenport University. So we've committed time, we've built a classroom, we have dedicated equipment to teach employees on the proper way to set machines. And we've actually been approached by a couple local colleges to maybe let them in on our program to see, because nobody trains that in the state of Connecticut today. So really it's the partnerships with the high schools and the colleges, and really trying to develop our own program is how we're trying to get through all this in the short and long term.
Brian, thank you. Sometime reach out to me about the Naugatuck Valley project and the plastic network
Okay.
that we established with Emmett O'Brien down there some years back.
Yeah.
Chris, tell us about Ulbrich's.
Well, I think a lot of things that Paul and Brian talked about, we're doing, job fairs, and we're looking at some of the Afghanistan and refugees coming into New Haven. And let me tell you, one of the things that we're working on with the chambers, there's an initiative going on with the Chamber of Commerce of Middletown and Greater New Haven, and probably 100 manufacturers, and we're looking for more manufacturers or anybody to join the group. There's 3 drivers of manufacturing: costs, talent, and promoting manufacturing. Promotion. We're not, this isn't the, 100 years ago manufacturing. This, there's robots on the floors, it's clean environments, or ISO. So a number of the chambers and manufacturers are working on these 3 things: cost, talent, and promotion. Along with, the governor. The governor is a big supporter of this, as you said. Colin Cooper is a manufacturing czar, one of the few states that have one. and manufacturing's got the governor's ear. And so this is positive. You know, we're right between Boston and New York City. We're probably cheaper than those two locations. But we have a challenge. We're still 100,000 manufacturing jobs below 1984. You know, 280, you know, lots of stuff went over to China, went down to South Mexico, and then the 2009 financial blow up did not help things. So we have our challenges, but everybody's on the same page. The manufacturing companies, chambers are working together. Everything we heard about the community colleges that Paul was talking about. So everything's heading in the right direction. We need people. We need and there's education available. The government's waiving money on some of the loans. So there's all kinds of things. The only negative thing out there is the state legislature passing negative business laws. We're not the enemy. We want to be partners with the community and the towns and the unions and everybody else to get things done. Manufacturing, I'm talking to the manufacturing community. So it's so important that everybody stays positive, because we are in a unique position between New York and Boston. And we see it, we're seeing it. How many people moved in from New York City during COVID? So lots of good things are going on in this area. We need people. So, and transportation is a big thing. There's lots of people who want to work, but they can't get to work. They don't have a car. And so, you know, we're talking about with the chamber buying vans and the trains. You know, can we change the schedule of the trains so that, you know, that goes down the center of the state, so people can go from Springfield to Wallingford, Connecticut to work. And we're working on a lot of these things as manufacturers. So very positive.
Thank you, Chris. Anthony, tell us a little bit about the workforce there at Medtronic.
Yeah, so, you know, our I guess our needs are a little unique, right? So we have a number of hourly employees who are doing more of the manufacturing, right? And then we have the professional folks, engineers, quality engineers, manufacturing management. So it's kind of a tale of two different stories. On the hourly perspective, you know, we recruit from the same places that some of the others have already spoke about. But what we do now, this is fairly new within the past 5 years, is really focus on our, you know, having a robust onboarding and training process, so that folks that are coming in with little skill, right, for what we're asking them to do, we can get them trained up in a couple weeks. Something that used to take us a few months now takes us a few weeks, and that was a pretty big investment. You know, adding 5 or 6 folks on the team, and then developing all the training aids and running all the workshops. But in times like this, it's helped us tremendously. Obviously, we are continuing to hire, and there's always some level of churn through those ranks as it is. So it's been something that's been very helpful for us. We're also able to determine early on in their process whether they're a fit for the manufacturing that we're asking them to do. And oftentimes in the past, we'd bring someone in, we would spend, 2, 3, 4 or 5 weeks, maybe a month or so before we realized that, hey, this just isn't really for you. Either they realized it or we realized it. We're now able to mitigate that quite a bit with with this program. Yeah, on the professional side, again, similar to some of the other folks on the call, it's really partnering with some of the local universities. Medtronic has a internship program that's run at the enterprise level, but we also do things more locally, working with some of the schools like UConn and Quinnipiac and some of the other closer schools, as well as just word of mouth, right? My children attended school in Wallingford, Connecticut. And I know many of their friends have moved on to engineering school and looking for internships, and so we kind of work it that way. So it's a combination of partnering with those schools as well as word of mouth. And to be honest, this is something that we need to beef up a little bit more on the technical side. Interesting to hear what Paul has to say here. It sounds like he's grooming folks and his daily job that I could probably use today. So something that we're going to continue to focus on as we move forward.
Thank you, Anthony. Paul Lavoie, your company, Carey's been engaged in the workforce initiatives for many, many years, going back to the CBIA Welfare to Work program, which I did with Carey Manufacturing some 25 plus years ago, roughly. Tell us a little bit about how your organization is addressing this issue.
Sure. So I'm actually very happy to announce that Carey Manufacturing is fully staffed, and we have been for a while. Our approach really is a little different. And, Rick, you mentioned it. We started many, many years ago with really taking a look at how we're going to make sure that we have kind of the workforce of today, but also the workforce of tomorrow for us as well. First thing we focus on is retention. We look at our company culture. We look at ways that we can make Carey Manufacturing a great place for people to come to work. And that works really well for us. It causes another problem in that, 67% of our workforce is 50 years or older. So now I'm looking at succession planning and bringing the next organization on. But we have a really good, strong core of people that have been with us for a very, very long time. And then a long time ago, our Director of Human Resources, Peter Egan, began a very different way of recruiting. And that was really just becoming very active in workforce development and in the community and taking a look at the technical schools and the colleges and CCAT and any organization, Piece of the Pie, Hartford Job Corps are all places where we make ourselves available to these organizations to be able to show young people what manufacturing is like. So if anybody wants to take a tour of a manufacturer, we say yes. We always say yes. We give probably 3 to 4 tours a month of our factory. We meet with students. We meet with educators. We participated in the Educator Externship Program, where they sent curriculum people from comprehensive high schools into our shop to learn what skills are needed for kids that are in high schools today. So by taking that approach, we don't recruit by using ads, we don't recruit by using agencies or anything like that. We really reach out to these partners that we've built long-term relationships with and say, hey, listen, we have an opening or 5 openings or a group of openings. Do you have what students do you have or what resources do you have that you can send to us? With reshoring our manufacturing in 2016, we had to build a whole new manufacturing organization. We had to buy equipment. We have people that we need to come in. So we have a very kind of youthful, manufacturing team on the hardware parts that we're now manufacturing here. So it really is, it was taking that different approach a long time ago to build those relationships and build the pipeline to be able to get us to the point where it's not hard for us to get people to come to the workforce, but more importantly, focus on that retention. Focus on making sure that because we can't compete with Medtronic or even Ulbrich with a lot of things. We're a 50-person company with a lot of benefits, but we can make work fun and we can make it so that people want to stay and want to work at Carey Manufacturing. So that's been our approach.
Well, I can attest to the fact that you guys really walk the walk and talk the talk. I've witnessed it and been involved with it with your organization very effectively over the years. So kudos.
The next time we have a Mr. Softy truck come, you're all invited. So
that'd be great. So our next focus, we've got about 20 minutes left, roughly. Our next focus is going to be on the future, and we've already talked about Industry 4.0 and the quality standards, the quality management system, and continuous improvement. So I'd like to get to how are you going to survive? How are these changes impacting your business? Are there trends or developments within the manufacturing sector, in addition to the ones you've already mentioned, that we should know about? What's the next curve? What's the next opportunity? What has kept your manufacturing business here in Connecticut and in the U.S.? And can you survive here as you look towards the future, or do you have to establish footprints on other continents? And how has that pandemic, again, impacted your business operations overall? We'll start with Brian Ulbrich.
So as far as for us at REF and really MW as a company, really the investments and things like that is going to be in equipment and people. We have to continually look at infrastructure and how machines are talking to each other. A lot of that's been talked about prior, but it's really that continual investment in the company, in the business, and really getting the best of the best. Some like Paul has talked about at Carey, it's really, we do have some of the same types of things. We go from old single spindle Brown and Sharps to, you know, the latest and greatest CNCs and how we're talking. And it's really how we're going to continue to invest that business so that we can meet the customer's demands along the way on the quality side. What continually keeps us in Connecticut and in the Valley is really the skilled labor that is available here in this state. We have a very strong skilled labor base. Unfortunately, like Paul has said, a lot of that is 50 and over. So we have to take those skilled people and train these younger people that really want to get into it. It's been touched upon, you know, before is, you know, there's a lot of kids out there that don't necessarily fit college profiles and things like that, but they're good hands-on. They want to make money, and manufacturing is a great way to make a lot of money. Especially when you get a little bit of a skill set, you can do very well. And that's really what we're looking at, is why we stay here is because we have that skill set here. We can train the people and continue to move forward. So it's really, you know, as we look to the future and what we want to do, and it's really continually invest in the business, invest in the infrastructures and from an IT and how we're going to continue to make the machines talk to each other, and then really take our labor force to the next level.
Thank you very much. Paul Lavoie.
Hi, yeah, so for us, it really is, you know, to continue to survive here in Connecticut, and I think Chris Ulbrich has brought it up, you know, our legislature doesn't really help us all that much with a lot of the kind of, they try to help, but sometimes they're really not helpful as it relates to manufacturing and jobs. So I think, listen, we have to, you know, costs are going up. So we have to keep a motivated workforce. We have to have a continually, you know, I call it gently relentless at work. You know, we're gently relentless against looking at reducing costs in the business and improving productivity, and taking ideas and suggestions from people that are running the machines to say, is there a better way that we can do this? Is there a faster way that we can do this? Making sure that we're doing it safely, of course, but is there a better and faster way that we can do this? Or are there things that you see out on the shop floor that we may not see to be able to reduce costs? And the second, you know, the second piece of that is that, you know, from a financial perspective, we have to slice and dice our pricing and our cost models on a regular basis to really look and to make sure that that we're getting the margin that we need to continue to operate our business. So when you operate in a high cost environment with, again, with utilities and labor and other costs and things like that, you really, I mean, it drives innovation, quite frankly. It you know, we can't get lazy. If we get lazy, then my margins drop, you know, as soon as I get lazy. So you know, you have to be gently relentless in making sure that you're, you know, keeping people happy, engaging people to help them improve productivity and then reduce costs. And the goal for us is, you know, how do we do more with the same that we have, and just continue to be able to grow with a more productive workforce. That's really our approach when you look at the environment that we're currently operating in.
Thank you, Paul. There's a common theme, folks, that I hear in these three speakers' comments, and that's continuous investments in people, process, and technology. That's what seems to get us over these hurdles and during these challenges. Let's talk about the economic trends for a minute, and we've got about 15 minutes left on with the panel here. When asked how COVID-19 impacted 2020 revenue compared to 2019, nearly half of the respondents, 46%, saw significant or modest growth. 20% say things were flat year over year, which may have been an accomplishment given the circumstances. 28% saw a modest decline. Only 7% said they had seen a significant decline. Success appears to be highly dependent on the ability and the platform for companies to support the e-commerce side of their business. Do you expect this trend to continue, and what other trends should we be watching? Paul, Felici.
Okay, well, for us, I've kind of said it before. We have trended down during COVID because, again, first of all, just because of the factor that people didn't want to, you know, sign up for classes and get in a building and obviously spread COVID. And then when we pivoted online, a lot of our students just didn't like that. Say, I'll take a year off and wait for you to come back on campus. So we have seen that. Now we're slowly going forward. We need to go forward. We need to get to the levels where we were training 300 students, per semester in the building, things like that. And I think we'll get there. The economy may waffle, but as long as there's opportunities in manufacture, which again, to me, drives almost the whole economy. We've been saying this for years. Manufacturing creates more jobs. There's nothing to repair without manufacturing, nothing to sell, nothing to do a lot of these things. So it is truly the bedrock of the economy, and the state's starting to realize that now. So we believe if we get the word out to young people, and it's not just that college is not for everybody, but that this is truly college, but it's also giving them the opportunity to get out quickly within a year without a lot of debt, making excellent money with the opportunity to possibly go back. I've met people that we graduated 4 years ago that have in fact become engineers. The difference is they're not like my daughter. They have zero debt. And so they're doing this. This drives the economy, more taxes being paid, more things doing, and more productivity for our manufacturers. So we definitely need to continue to grow and force ourselves up. But I think that is coming, without looking into different inflation and economic indicators and things. But I think people are coming back, and they will continue to do that. So I'm optimistic.
Oh, that's good news, Paul, to hear from our educators being optimistic. Brian.
So for our business, we basically supply every industry out there right now. And we are seeing growth even with the automotive side of our business being significantly off with the chip problem. When we look at how and why we're successful during this time, some of it is actually, and our customers have made the comment that when they call us, they actually get a person, somebody they can talk to follow up on their orders and really understand what's going on. Because sometimes it's easier to explain some of the roadblocks we're having and the supply shortages over the phone than in an email. We've launched an e-commerce business and actually have seen very little activity on that business as we've been going forward. And it really is because I think the relationships we have with our customers and ability to respond to them quickly. The trends, as we continue to look at, will these trends continue? We're not seeing things slowing down. We have tremendous growth, and we are taking market share. We feel here in Connecticut from other countries, especially from the reshoring, like countries from China and stuff, because we are a U.S. based source, and people know they can get their material from us, even if they have to pay a little bit more at this point. But they know we won't be sending it on a sea container, so it won't be sitting somewhere for months. So we do see some of that, and really customers switching more and more of those things to us. So, from a positive perspective, we do expect continued growth. And we're going to basically keep that same business model where when you call us, you're going to be able to talk to somebody and keep that relationships going with our customers.
Thank you, Brian. Let's move on to research and development in the manufacturing workforce and leveraging that workforce. The manufacturing sector is driving innovation. We saw 3D printing really transform the additive manufacturing process as opposed to the subtractive manufacturing process. Manufacturers in the U.S. contribute to more than 3/4 of all private sector research and development in the nation. And manufacturing is pushing for an increase in STEM education to create a more competitive workforce to help drive continued innovation and productivity. STEAM is also a part of that: science, technology, arts, engineering, and math. One interesting fact: the U.S. worker has 10 to 12 more times the output of a Chinese worker. How has this impacted your business, and where do you see this moving as we move forward with skilled labor and talent and productivity? We'll start with Paul Felici.
Okay, well, in the 23 years that I've been doing this, Frank Aluni made the comment some years ago that he did want to see less of his contemporaries, and now my contemporaries at 57, and more young people. So over the last 5 or 6 years, through our scholarship programs, which we want to develop a little bit more, and through just the general marketing, we have seen our population get steadily younger. We went from a population that was in its 50s. Now I would say we're down to our early 30s, and we're seeing more and more young people. We do have a program, and I think it was mentioned briefly here, but it was Asnuntuck who pioneered it, called College Connections. We bring in students from our local high schools weekly, every day, and give them college credit and manufacturing training. Then hopefully they come to school at Asnuntuck and transfer and transition into you guys, or at least into some four-year college, and do that. So it has been, that's what I've seen mostly. The other thing that I've seen, which in some ways is a disturbing trend, but it has been an opportunity for us as a community college, is the loss of the soft skills. Coming to work on time, the value of the day doesn't start at 8 o'clock, the chips fly at 8 o'clock, coming back from lunch on time, doing things like that, which in my lifetime, what was once a given is now something that we actually have a class to teach them soft skills. Our whole program is designed around soft skills and doing things. So we run it almost like a work day. So they come to you, we know what that person is going to be like. Do they come to school on time? Do they take long breaks? What do they do? Are they lazy? So we are able to transition that person to you in a more effective way and make sure that our students are better. And that's kind of the thing we've seen over the years, going with the 50-year-olds and everything. They've been around that block. These kids are now just starting their first block. However, that is your future workforce. We're not just adding to the silver tsunami, if you will, anymore. We're trying to replace that. So, it's a good trend, more challenging, but, it is getting younger, and you're going to see that hopefully filling in. I think our challenge as educators and as manufacturers is to show this whole industry in better light, that it's not necessarily better to be one of 10 million lawyers who might not get a job, that you go into manufacturing. Within 9 months, you can be making good money. Within 2.5 years, making over $30 an hour, 6 figures in 4 years, that kind of stuff. That's what I've seen change. And that's what we have to continue to do in order to make this work and continue to keep Connecticut robust and the country in general.
Thank you very much, Paul. Paul Lavoie.
Yeah, I think for us, it really comes down to, we have to really have to look at the future and have a robust succession plan. I have 33 people that are over the age of 50, and we've identified seven of them as being critical. And we have people in training to take on those roles. Those people that are in training to take on those roles are in their late 20s and early 30s. So they're bringing a really unique perspective to our business and really taking a very different look at the way things are done, and really taking a look at how we're going to prepare for the future. The remaining people in that group are what we call the replace category, and that it's not a critical position, that we feel that we can be able to replace that. So that really is what, when we take a look at that, that's how we're addressing that workforce. When somebody goes and retires, there's somebody there that's going to take over that role, and that person generally has a fresh set of ideas because they're coming from a very, very different perspective. As it relates to the workforce and how it's changed in the business, and especially if you look at more or less some of the engineering jobs or some of the front office jobs, as I said earlier, the biggest change had to really come from me. And that is really addressing how to better manage a workforce that looks at work differently than I did when I was coming up. In some areas of our business, it's not necessarily an 8 to 5 job. Case in point, I had a customer service rep when single mother, when the pandemic started. I sent her home and said, stay home with your son. Work from home, and now when he comes home at 3 o'clock, if she has an issue, she takes care of it, but she gets her orders in by 7 o'clock at night before our production runs in our system. So again, I think we as manufacturers have to be able to adapt to our workforce and to make it more comfortable for them, and then there's ways to measure their productivity. So again, as I said, when it comes to the workforce, I think the biggest change was me. So
Interesting. Terrific. All of our panelists bring a very interesting passion to what they do when we talk about manufacturing and where it currently exists and where it may be going.
I want to thank all of you for your excellent contributions. And for our audience, I'd like to give you one opportunity to make a final comment on the subject of our future in manufacturing here in Connecticut and where you see your organization being in that future. I'm going to start with Brian at M&W Industries and work the middle to the ends on this one. So Brian, can you give us a couple of words of wisdom?
Really, as we go forward with coming out of the COVID pandemic, and we continue to look to our future, it's continually that we got to make our customers the priority and solve customer problems. As a company, that's really how we're going to succeed. We've all talked about it too. It's, treating employees fairly, giving them opportunities to grow, and really make them want to come to work. It's, it's kind of funny, and been doing this for a number of years, when you have to teach kids soft skills like coming to work on time, but really it's making those employees understand it's a good place to be. You can really grow, you can develop a nice income and be successful at the end of the day. So if we continuing to invest in our employees and make the our customers our priority, we will all succeed going forward.
Thank you very much. Chris.
Well, one thing I had was about manufacturing is, since there's younger people out there now, no lead times, no lead times and everything. Don't take things for granted now. We're placing orders, almost 24 months ahead of time. And the other thing is, my son was complaining that he got a 3.5% mortgage the other day, right? Know about inflation. Our company borrowed money at 19.5% interest. And I had a 14% mortgage. This is a true story. Know about inflation, learn, read a book about it, because, there may be some inflation coming here and there. I mean, we're seeing it in energy now, we're seeing it in the elements, the change of technology, which is hopefully good for the environment, but there's a cost to it. So I think it's important that our companies know and our people know what's the strategies to understand inflation, how to deal with it as time goes on here. And so we're focusing on both these lead times and going forward on costs and inflation.
Thank you. Anthony.
Yeah, thanks. So, manufacturing, is alive and well right here in this part of the state. The key is, how do we stay here, right? How do we earn our right to exist day in, day out? And that really starts with having that vision. I've heard a few of you say something similar, but listen, we cannot compete with the labor wage rate in the Dominican Republic or China or wherever it may be in some of the low-cost countries. But there's other ways we can add value, right? We can get products to market quicker using the technology that's available to us in the U.S. We can squeeze costs out of product a lot quicker than you will in some of these other areas. So really, it's just defining why you exist. What is that vision, and how are you going to add value into your process, and then eventually into your customers?
Thank you very much. Paul Lavoie.
Yeah, so kind of to sum it up, it really is, I think the approach really has to be, just there's a lot of things that are happening externally that impact our business. And, from a day-to-day basis, you can kind of choose to participate or choose not to participate in all those things that are going on. So we really look at it from what can we do to affect what's going on in our four walls with kind of these external factors that are impacting our business. To really just, again, and I think that, Brian said it, how do we take great care of our customers, take great care of our people, right? Employees first, customers second, because employees take care of our customers. So if we take better care of our employees, they'll take better care of our customers. Our customers are going to take better care of our business. And then the business will take, really good care of our owners. So that's kind of the way that we take a look at it and make sure that we're focused on the employees who are going to take care of the customers who will take care of the business.
Perfect. And we'll save our educator for last here to give us that introspective perspective on words of wisdom related to our topic this evening.
I guess I would leave you with two observations. One is that manufacturing is alive, it's well, it's thriving in Connecticut, in the United States in general. It's time for people out there to take a serious look at maybe this is the career for you, rather than doing some of the other things. It's out there, it pays well. The education is short, but comprehensive, no debt, and that kind of thing. So there are a lot of people out there looking. They should take a serious look at manufacturing. And the second thing that I've heard here is, we will not compete with China per cost of labor and things like that. But the reason we're still here is that we have always done it better. We're better than they are. We produce better products. Yes, it may cost $5 to have their product as opposed to 10 to yours, but 10 years from now, ours will still be running. Theirs will be in the trash 5 or 6 times. We need to remember that there is quality here, and it starts with your employment force again, and just works its way up. So it's incumbent on us to keep going. The future is bright in manufacturing, and it will set the table for the rest of the industries going forward.
Well, Paul, that is inspirational. Thank you. And before I bring Susan on, I want to thank the professional women in construction for hosting this session on manufacturing. You always want to look at others and other places to see what are they doing well and how could we adopt some of those best practices to leverage our competitiveness in our discipline. And whether that's healthcare and physicians and related, or manufacturing or construction, it's always exciting to see folks looking outward and looking for those opportunities. I heard a couple of themes I'd like to leave you with. In the investment in people, process, and technology is critical to our continued success in manufacturing here in the United States and specifically in Connecticut. Be aware of the paradigm that exists and how it may change. That's what got us through the pandemic in many different ways. And then innovation adds value. We heard that mentioned a few times. And finally, on a personal note, investment in the next generation of leadership is all of our future. And so if you have the opportunity to engage a young person and inspire them and guide them and teach them and help them, they will pay it back. No question about it. Steve Krasinski, you know that from the Boys Club in New Britain, where we share a role in leadership of the club. And I can attest to the experiences that I've had from working with young people. It's the most rewarding opportunity, correct, Paul, Felici, that you may ever have. Thank you all very much. Susan, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Rick. That was absolutely inspirational. And thank you to all of our PWC members and greater community who joined us this evening. We are especially grateful to our speakers for sharing your time and your expertise. And we are really grateful for the way you are supporting the economy of this state of ours. We're very proud to have you here, and we love to support you in any way we can. So special thanks again to our PWC Connecticut sponsors. It's through your generosity that we're able to fulfill our mission at PWC Connecticut, and that of the Boys and Girls Club and so many other wonderful organizations to support a vibrant and viable future for our industries. We hope that you'll join us for our next program, which will be Tuesday, December 7th. It will be Private Schools in Southern New England, Growth Through Resiliency. So on behalf of the board, we wish our panelists and all of you a happy Halloween, a wonderful Thanksgiving, and a great good night. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, thank you.
Bye-bye. Thanks, everybody.